Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where for today's top 10 we're running through the biggest flops of 2020. I didn't write this. 10. Benfica. Benfica entered 2020 with a healthy lead in the Liga NOS over arch rivals FC Porto, looking to claim their 6th Portuguese title in 7 years. They'd won 18 of 19 of their domestic fixtures too, meaning a new points record was also in sight for the Eagles. But then it fell apart. Between February and June, Bruno Lage's side won just 2 of 10 matches, turning a 7-point advantage into a 6-point deficit, throwing away any chance of the title. This included a record 5 matches without a victory at the Estadio da Luz, as they dropped points to mid-table sides like Santa Clara and Tondela, and suffered an early exit in the Europa League to Shakhtar Donetsk. It wasn't a surprise to see Lage sacked, as the club attempted to turn over a new leaf entering the new campaign, but the season didn't start ideally under returning boss Jorge Jesus, fresh from a successful spell with Flamengo in Brazil. Benfica fell to Greek side PAOK in the Champions League qualifiers, subjecting them to the Europa League group stages for the first time since 2009. 9. Pep Guardiola. It might be harsh to put Pep Guardiola in this list, but the reality is that his Manchester City side have failed to reach the lofty heights that he and all of us have come to expect from them. To start, the 81 points picked up last season would have only been enough to win the league title twice since 2002. Then of course there's the Champions League campaign, where once again Guardiola seemed to be a victim of his own overthinking. There might be a difference in approach from a one-off knockout game to a two-legged affair, but City were simply outplayed by a Lyon side that ended their curtailed league and season in 7th place, missing out on Europe. And as for 2020-21 to date, City have only managed back-to-back league victories once this campaign, dropping points to the likes of Leeds, West Ham and West Brom, with 20 points from their opening 12 fixtures being their worst total since the 08-09 season. In England at least, it's hard to argue that any club has fallen as short of their 2020 objectives as Guardiola's City. 8. Krzysztof Piatek. 2 years ago, there was barely a player generating as much hype as Genoa striker Christophe Piatek. Signed from Cracovia for €4.5 million in the summer of 2018, the Pole would go on to score 13 goals in his first 9 games for the club, and would have 19 by the time AC Milan dropped €35 million to bring him to the San Siro. But he couldn't maintain his form for Milan, netting just 16 in 41 matches throughout 2019, only 5 of those coming in the 1920 campaign. And that brings us to this year, where AC Milan decided to cut their losses on their 7th biggest signing of all time, when Hertha BSC paid €25 million to take Piatek to the Bundesliga. But a reset for Piatek never came. He only started 16 league games for the Berlin club in the entirety of 2020, scoring just 7, although 2 of those secured a Derby Day victory over Union Berlin. Piatek has gone from averaging 4.1 shots a game at Genoa down to 0.8 per 90 this season in Germany. It's fair to say the hype is gone. Entering the final year of his contract in 1920, Christian Eriksen's decision to move on from Spurs was one of football's worst kept secrets. It saw both Mauricio Pochettino and then Jose Mourinho use him less, although being one of his side's key players meant the Danish international picked up regular game time from the bench. Establishing himself as one of the Premier League's best creators, with 58 assists in 5 years, he finally got his move to Inter Milan for £25 million. But he hasn't had the impact he hoped he would, with his new side already looking to move him on, with Arsenal, Manchester United and PSG all interested in the 28-year-old. In the entirety of 2020, he scored just 1 and set up 2 in Serie A, making more appearances off the bench under Antonio Conte than he has starts. In fact, his 2021 league minutes to date are less than half of what it was in his last 6 months at Spurs, appearing more regularly for Denmark than he does for Inter. It's been a lost year for Eriksen when he should be peaking. 6. Aaron Ramsdale. Back to the Premier League, where it's looking like one player could potentially be suffering back-to-back relegations from England's top flight. The 2019-20 campaign was the first in which Aaron Ramsdale spent the whole season as a starting goalkeeper, doing so for Bournemouth. With Eddie Howe in charge, the Cherries were known for having a leaky defence, with the 62 goals Ramsdale conceding being the third most in the division. Only the goalkeepers for the two other relegated sides, Watford's Ben Foster and Norwich's Tim Krul, conceded more. However, he did make 3.4 saves a game, earning himself an £18.5 million move to Sheffield United, the club he made his debut with in 2016. But it's not been much better this season. The Blades didn't win any of their first 13 fixtures, with the 22-year-old conceding 22 goals at the time of writing. It might not be entirely Ramsdale's fault for this, but he is the name that draws the link between a side relegated one year and the side with the worst Premier League start in history the next. A 2020 to forget for the Englishman. 5. Luka Jovic. 18 months ago, there wasn't a more sought after striker than Eintracht Frankfurt's Luka Jovic. He was coming off a season with 27 goals and 6 assists, or a goal contribution every 96 minutes in Bundesliga and Europa League action. Only on loan from Benfica, it was unsurprising the German side made the move permanent, even to just turn a quick profit. The day after Frankfurt paid €22 million to Benfica in July 2019, Real Madrid paid €63 million to bring the Serbian international to the Bernabeu, with one eye on the 23-year-old becoming the long-term starter in the Spanish capital. But it couldn't have panned out much worse for the former Red Star Belgrade man, who is on a €180,000 a week contract until 2025. Throughout the entirety of 2020, Jovic has played just 593 minutes in all competitions, starting just 6 matches, with only 1 goal to his name. It's true that Karim Benzema has been in exceptional form, with his last 2 seasons being in his top 4 for goals whilst with Los Blancos, but Jovic was signed to challenge him. It's barely even a contest. 4. Peter Lim. After their Copa del Rey victory in 2019, things seemed to be trending in the right direction for Valencia under Marcelino. But thanks to chairman Peter Lim's interference since then, they've actually started to head into the opposite direction, starting with the sacking of Marcelino in late 2019, with the former head coach believing focusing on and winning the Copa against Lim's wishes was why he lost his job. Under new boss Albert Scheledez, Los Che had an extremely mediocre campaign, finishing 9th, and reaching the last 8 of the Copa del Rey. They progressed to the Champions League knockouts though, facing Atalanta in the second round, although almost half the Valencia squad and staff tested positive for coronavirus in the weeks following this fixture. Then came the summer. With Scheledez losing his job, club talisman Dani Parejo was shipped to local rivals Villarreal on a free, whilst their young star Ferran Torres was sold to Manchester City for just €27 million. All decisions made by Lim. This season, under Xavi Gracia, the club continued to languish in mid-table. Their next Champions League campaign could be some time away with Lim at the helm. 3. Barcelona. Barcelona entered 2020 in a very familiar position. They were top of La Liga, holding a slender 2-point lead over Real Madrid, and had qualified for the Champions League knockout stages as group winners for the 13th year in a row. But it all went downhill when they sacked Ernesto Valverde, replacing him with Quique Setién while still top of the tree. The Blaugrana would surrender their La Liga crown to their El Clasico rivals under the former Real Betis boss, but the worst was still yet to come. In the rearranged Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, Lionel Messi and co would fall to an embarrassing 8-2 defeat, a game that almost single-handedly changed the course of the club. Messi stated his desire to leave the club he joined as a 13-year-old, refusing to turn up to training as a court order was all that prevented the Argentinian leaving on a free. Ronald Koeman was installed as coach with an unhappy Messi in tow, as Barca found themselves in 13th after 8 games, with a real fear of missing out on Champions League football. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. 2. Schalke. Somehow though, one big club has had a more disastrous 2020 than Barcelona. Schalke had spent the first half of the 2019-20 season challenging for the Champions League spots, and were just 3 points behind eventual Bundesliga winners Bayern Munich. They won their first match of the new year, putting them on 33 points from 18 fixtures, but since then, well, nothing. Die Königsblauen ended the campaign with no win in 16 fixtures, including 5-0 defeats to both Bayern and Leipzig, ending with 12 spots and 39 points, just 8 points above the drop zone. Then the new season was opened with an 8-0 loss to Bayern Munich, resulting in Wagner's sacking, Not that this changed their fortunes. Still winless since the beginning of January, Schalke are rock bottom of the Bundesliga with just 4 points. This year they've picked up just 13 points from 29 games. The only teams to do worse were the relegated Paderborn and the promoted Arminia Bielefeld, both only playing half a season. Comfortably the worst team in Europe over the year of 2020, surely 2021 can't get any worse. 1. Mikel Arteta. This time last year, Arsenal's future looked as bright as it had for a long time. Unai Emery was gone, as club icon and Pep protege Mikel Arteta had just been appointed as his replacement at the Emirates. And Arteta's tenure at Arsenal, who he played 150 games for between 2011 and 2016, got off on a very good foot. They went 8 games unbeaten in the Premier League, opening up 2020 with a 2-0 victory over Manchester United, and would climb from 12th to 8th in the table. Maybe not impressive on paper, but clearly a step in the right direction. Arteta also lifted his first piece of silverware as manager, leading the Gunners to FA Cup glory, defeating his former employers Manchester City in the semi-finals and London rivals Chelsea in the final. But this season, Arteta has been unable to impose his style on his players. Despite winning 3 of their first 4, a winless run of 6 games has seen them slump to 15th, with expected goals and expected points suggesting Arsenal are exactly where they deserve to be. 12 months into his reign and the pressure is well and truly on for Mikel Arteta. So those were our 10 biggest flops of 2020, but have we missed anyone out? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, then click on screen right now for more Football Daily content. And as always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.